Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at where we're going out towards the first and second week of June today. Looks like we've got some improvements taking place. Not necessarily going to be 2 weeks of completely dry and settled weather, but I think going to be a big improvement probably on what we've been experiencing so far this spring into early summer. But we've also got some very wet weather today, and we'll have a look at the detail on that in a moment. Now, before I get on with the video, I want to mention we advertise. There's a video ad sitting just above my weather video here at GazWeatherVids.com. Please play it. You'll be supporting GazWeatherVids.com by doing that. So this is the radar picture, first of all, from the weatheroutlook.com. You can find the Weather Outlook on my links page. We've got some quite heavy rain here across England and Wales, with yellow colours indicating some quite moderate and persistent bursts of rain, particularly centred through the Midlands down towards central southern England. Not quite so much for the south east, not quite so much yet for Wales and south west England, although there are some heavy showers breaking out across south west England. But I think this rain will push further west through the course of the day, and generally we're going to keep it very unsettled across many parts of the country today, particularly England and Wales. This will be facts chart, this will be human interpretation of the models by the forecasters at Met Office. This is for midnight tonight, and we're seeing low pressure sitting right over the top of the country there. That's just it telling us that it's very unsettled at the moment. So the high resolution NAE forecast, precipitation forecast from the website Weather Online. The NAE model is the high resolution model from the UK Met Office, by the way, showing that at 6 o'clock this evening we've got a really wet scene across much of England and Wales. Probably not too much in the far southeast and across parts of East Anglia, but a lot through the Midlands in towards Wales, stretching up in towards those Irish Sea coast. Some really heavy rain there around west of Wales down to West Midlands. Rain could be actually quite torrential towards this evening. That's coinciding with the rush hour, so you do take care if you're off on the roads this evening. Could be some heavy showers and thunderstorms breaking out across parts of southwest England, South Wales as well through the course of the afternoon, so that could be something to watch out for. Going into tonight, this is the chart for midnight tonight, the forecast chart for midnight tonight. We see the rain is becoming more confined towards Wales and northwest England around the Irish Sea, stretching up in towards Northern Ireland, but we've got another area of rain stretching back in towards the North and East Midlands, going through parts of Lincolnshire down in towards East Anglia. That's going to keep it quite wet there, and that rain will still be going, I think, as we go on in towards 6 o'clock in the morning. So through the night we're going to keep it very wet, I think, across parts of East Anglia in towards Lincolnshire and the North and East Midlands. Rain really persistent through there. And the rain in the west is going to become more confined down to the southwest of England. It's going to die out through parts of Wales and around these Irish Sea coast. But it is going to pep up then across parts of southwest England. So quite a wet night, or quite a wet into the night in the southwest. And they're going to keep it very unsettled through the course of tomorrow with more showers and longer spells of rain across the country. So, but by the time we get through to midnight on Thursday, we've still got rain here across parts of England, whereas this is suggesting it's through the Midlands down towards central southern England. But it's just really the idea that through the course of Wednesday we'll be keeping further showers or longer spells of rain going, and that's stretching out in towards Thursday. So really quite an unsettled spell coming up. But once we get through to the end of the week, I think we are looking at moving that low pressure away in towards the continent. And if you have a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly charts to see what the anomaly is for 8 to 10 days time, which is taking us to the end of the first week of June. This is for the 6th and 7th of June, next Thursday and next Friday. And 500 millibars, 18,000 feet is where we've got weather developing. That's where we've got high pressure and low pressure forming and being moved around by the jet stream running above, and that essentially is what gives us our weather. We can see that the ECMWF, first of all, is showing that we've got two distinct areas of above average heights, and above average heights extrapolates to high pressure. One area there in the Atlantic, that's the ever-present Azores Heights, starting to ridge in towards the country. And then we've got another area of high pressure, blocking area of high pressure sitting up to the northeast around Scandinavia and stretching back in towards western Russia. Now, what the ECMWF wants to do is in between that, it wants to bring the jet stream down a little bit and form a very weak trough there, stretching from Iceland down in towards the British Isles. So we don't actually reach those two areas of high pressure together. So we although it's settling down a little bit, we maintain it quite changeable, not unsettled necessarily, but a little bit changeable at 8 to 10 days time. But the GFS is slightly different with this idea as we get through towards the end of the first week of June. That has the area of high pressure over Scandinavia much more influential across our weather, and if I highlight it we can see that the area of high pressure of the block is actually extending in towards the British Isles, and this trough of low pressure, while it's deeper in the Atlantic, is actually further out into the Atlantic. So it's a deeper trough, but it's being blocked by this bigger area of high pressure sitting to the northeast of the country. So that is a more settled situation for us. It's a warmer situation as well to the ECMWF. And yes, that high pressure is really quite influential across the country. That would be really quite settled with a block of high pressure, high pressure holding off that trough in the Atlantic much more than is the case on the ECMWF. So we have a look at the generic charts from the models. We'll start off with the GFS first of all. We can see that as we go into the weekend, we're losing that low pressure. This is the low pressure that's giving us the current unsettled weather, and we'll keep it unsettled. That is becoming situated over central parts of Europe and down towards the southeast of Europe. That's going to keep it very unsettled there. There'll be a lot of heavy rain in the east and the southeast of Europe, across central parts of Europe. But for us, we're seeing this area of high pressure beginning to extend in off the Atlantic, and of course we've got that blocking area of high pressure up to the northeast as well. So yes, we're starting to see signs that things are beginning to improve as we go into the weekend. As we go out in towards the start of next week, we're going to keep anticyclonic influences going. Here's the high pressure building in across the country as we go through in towards Monday the 3rd of June. That will keep it really very settled indeed. And as we go out towards Tuesday the 4th, again the high pressure very much dominating. It's ridging up towards Scandinavia. This is a warm, dry, sunny sort of pattern, not necessarily a heat wave, but certainly warm. Temperatures into the 70s Fahrenheit, 22, 23, 24 degrees would easily be possible with this, into the low to mid 70s Fahrenheit. Plenty of sunshine as well, really very pleasant. As we go out beyond that in towards the middle of next week, well, the high pressure really is dominating over the north of Scandinavia. Vast area of high pressure. Low pressure in the Atlantic, as we saw on the 500 BOV heights, being blocked by that high pressure, and really that's how we maintain things as we go up towards the end of next week. But by then we're just beginning to show signs that we might start to be trying to bring low pressure in off the Atlantic, and these areas of high pressure, we've got to keep an eye on them, because from Scandinavia it's not that hard to get retrogression, and retrogression would mean that we take that to high pressure from Scandinavia and we move it that way from east to west, taking it to Iceland and Greenland. And if the high pressure gets to Iceland and Greenland, then we could start to set up a very unsettled pattern. So we do have to keep an eye on this, whilst initially we may get a few days, perhaps a week or a couple of weeks of settled weather. We've got to keep an eye on what that high pressure is doing, because if it goes to Greenland and Iceland, which has been the pattern over many recent summers actually, if it goes there, we could well start to lock ourselves into a very unsettled pattern. So it's sort of on a knife edge actually as we go through the first half of June. I think we're on a knife edge between triumph and disaster in a lot of ways, with the high pressure always threatening to retrogress to Greenland. So that's something that we need to keep an eye on. For the ECMWF, well, as we go into weekend, high pressure is dominating down to the southwest of the country. It could be really quite a pleasant weekend, I think, away from the far north, where it could be a little bit more unsettled. Not particularly hot, really, with this high pressure out here. It's not going to be a heat wave, but it should be pleasant enough through the course of the weekend. Into the start of next week, still keeping anticyclonic influences largely dominating the weather through into the middle of next week. But as we saw on the 500 millibar heights, as we get towards the week to 10-day period, then we do start to see the trough of low pressure beginning to extend in off the Atlantic a little bit more, under more anticyclonic, under more cyclonic influences by the time we get through to the latter stages of next week, with that low pressure starting to take control, and the high pressure is reaching back out into the Atlantic, and we're not really getting this high pressure over Scandinavia blocking anywhere near as much as we do on the GFS. So all in all, I think we are looking at improvements from the weekend on. We're certainly very unsettled for the next few days. As we get to the weekend, I think we are looking at good improvements. It's going to be a nice weekend. Those improvements extending through next week, certainly the first half of next week into the first week of June. But then we've got to look at weather as we go out towards the end of the first week. Does it start to turn more unsettled from the Atlantic? And if we get that blocking area of high pressure dominating over Scandinavia, which the GFS wants to do, it's a little bit on its own with that idea, really. But if that high pressure over Scandinavia does really start to dominate, we've got to be very careful and keep an eye on whether it starts to retrogress, which is east to west as opposed to west to east, west to east, whether it retrogresses to Iceland and Greenland. If it does, it could start to lock us in to a very unsettled sort of pattern in the latter stages of June. That's it for now. I hope you found the video interesting. We're doing 5-day forecast tomorrow, just putting a bit of detail on all of this over the next few days into the weekend. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching.